Hey, everybody. Here we are with our next leader spotlight, ready to talk to George Meagard. I'm excited to talk to George today. He's been such an awesome addition to our FCC Kids Ministry. He's been helping us out for, I don't know, quite a few years. I've lost track how many years. Do you know how many years, George?
4 years and 34 days.
Not the hours and minutes yet?
Well, let me see. I started with VBS, so it's
Right.
probably.
Yep. I remember the day he walked up to the table and wanted to sign up to help out with VBS, and that was the first day I met him, and he's just been all in since then and just does such an awesome job with our elementary boys and helping encourage them to grow up to be men. So, George, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Okay, I was born at an early age. I just wanted to throw that one in. No, I grew up in suburban Chicago and went to school to train to become a pastor, which I did become. I'm married to Marge. We've been married for 16 years. She has 3 kids, all live in Council Bluffs. Matter of fact, her son lives with us. And then I have a son and a daughter from my first marriage. My daughter's 44, lives in Minneapolis. My son's 42, lives in Minneapolis. My son's married and he has 2 little girls, and another one on the way. Not necessarily a girl. They don't like to know ahead of time. So we'll find out.
Congratulations! I didn't know that news. So when are they due?
Actually, the new one is due October 19th, which is the same birthday as the youngest girl.
Oh, that's funny.
So, yeah.
Awesome.
So we'll see. Yeah.
Good. Well, that'll be something fun to look forward to in the fall.
Yeah. If I can go and see them, I guess, because I haven't seen them since this COVID-19 has hit.
Right.
But, yeah.
All right. Well, awesome. I kind of already mentioned, but George helps out with our elementary class, leading a small group of 5th graders. He started out just doing boys, but the last couple of years he's had a mixed group with boys and girls, and
which I like.
Yeah,
I like it. Yeah,
it brings a different dynamic, I'm sure, but good.
It does. Yeah.
And then he also always helps us out with VBS, and I appreciate George because he's kind of handy and likes to build stuff. So I give him lots of projects to help us with around the church, and that's always fun to have him helping me out. So that's awesome. All right. So the easy questions are always first. If you're going to pick a vacation, do you want to go to the beach or the mountains?
Well, let me see. Let me get up over here, and I don't know if you can figure this one out. Let's see.
I know what he has.
Where might I want to go here? This is my snowboard, and yes, it is the mountains for sure. And yep, no doubt.
Yeah. How long have you been snowboarding?
I think I crossed over to the dark side in 2001.
Okay.
I was a skier before that.
Yep.
But yeah.
What made you want to try snowboarding? Just a new challenge?
Well, 2 things. My son crossed over, and then also I would take students from my church out to Colorado, and I saw more and more people were doing snowboarding instead of skiing. And so I asked actually the owner at Mount Crescent, I said, what do you think about, crossing over, and he said, well, if you're under like 45, you do it, but not over. Well, I was way over that mark, and it was like, throw the gauntlet down. Okay, I'm going to do it,
I got to prove you wrong.
That's right. That's right. And so anyway, the learning curve was stiff.
Yeah.
But I'm not going back. So.
See, my family has skied for years. Like I learned when I was young. And so I'm a big skier, but 2 of my brothers snowboard. One brother still just skis. My kids know how to ski, and a couple of them have been talking about wanting to snowboard, and I'm like, I can't teach
Yeah,
you, so I don't know. We'll
right.
see.
Yeah.
But awesome. Okay. Which season would you choose, spring or fall?
Well, I've listened to everyone, and everyone likes the fall.
Yep.
And of course, I, I'm a product of the 60s. We're rebels. So spring, I'm going to say spring. And the reason is I'm a runner and I
Mhm.
like to run, but when it's icy out, it's not so fun. And when it's cold out, I mean, I used to run when I lived in Minnesota in the winter, and but it's nice when it's getting nice out, and you can
Yeah.
just put some shorts, shirt, and shoes on, and go and do your 2 miles, and it's nice. So
Yep.
I look forward to the spring, kind of new life and everything, and
Yeah.
get rid of the doldrums of the winter. So sorry that everyone else likes fall,
I'm
and
glad that somebody chose spring. I was starting to feel bad that no one liked spring.
yeah, yeah. And that's what I hadn't heard Ben's yet, so I didn't know what he'll choose.
Yeah.
So
Um, are you still running?
yep,
Yep.
2 miles every morning. I have about 3 routes. One of them runs me right by Bortmist house,
Okay.
and so anyway, I
That's
have
awesome.
a Garmin watch, so it kind of tells me when I'm 1 mile out, and then just turn around and come back.
Yeah.
So
Good. That's
yeah,
great.
yeah.
What was your favorite toy when you were little?
Well, I tell you, Julia kind of wound up with me, and I actually brought her toy, and
Yeah.
I was all ready anyway. So, well, here we go. I don't know, I can't see very well. Can you see my train here?
Yeah, you can see it. Yep.
Okay. Anyway, this is my HO train that I got. Well, I have one up Julia because this thing's 60 years old at least, I think.
Yeah.
So
That's
anyway,
awesome.
we used to have Lionel O gauge trains, the big ones, and then I
Mhm.
guess it was the crossover to HO. And so, as my wife says, why am I not surprised you still have it? Because I hang on to stuff quite
Yeah.
a bit. And so anyway, that
Did
was
you did you have
that
the
was,
whole big like tracks for it to go on and everything?
um, matter of fact, um, my folks had a very modest house, 2 bedroom, no basement. And so I went next door to the Kramers. Mike and Pete were about my age, and they had a basement. And so I brought all my stuff over there, and we combined our setups together.
Cool.
So we had, for a long time, we had the O gauge, Lionel, and everything, and
Mhm.
then we switched over to HO. So I spent most of my time over the Kramers' house next door. I was the only child, and they had 10 kids.
Oh
So
gosh.
yeah, kind of a different deal.
Good thing they had the basement then, I guess.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, tell me about one of your favorite family traditions.
Well, that's kind of going back to the mountains. And here, these things I don't use anymore. Can you see them on the picture?
Yeah. Yep.
Uh, yeah, these are my skis. And back in 1995, my son Nate had graduated from high school, and he went off to school at University of Nebraska at Lincoln. And I started skiing more like in Colorado. And so I asked him, hey, do you think you want to learn how to ski maybe? And he said, yeah. So we went out to Colorado for a couple of days. The first day I taught him how to ski. The second day, uh, he was about as good as I was already, which was great. And so every year since 1995, we've done a father-son. It was a ski trip. Now it's a snowboard trip.
Right.
And that's been a kind of a standing thing. And it's kind of branched out now because we do just father son usually in December, and then around February, March, you get a condo, and his whole family comes out. Sometimes my daughter comes out, and sometimes other people, and so it's kind of a wider thing as well. But the going to Colorado and hitting the snow, that's been a family tradition for us.
Yeah, that's a great family tradition.
Yeah.
My entire family has been doing that for quite a few years. We didn't get to go this year, but yeah, so like all my brothers and all their kids, it's
Yeah.
wild, but really fun and just a great time to get away and yeah, spend quality family time. So
Yeah,
that's
we did go this year, our last year, and did the father-son thing in December, and then the condo in early March, and then we got in just before they closed down everything, and
our trip.
it's okay.
Yeah.
They gave us a credit on our season pass for
Oh yeah.
next year. They kind of figured out. I think I got 20% off of my senior pass or
Yeah.
ski pass. Well, I'd say senior. Yeah, I get a
Senior
senior
ski pass.
discount. It is awesome. Yeah. So.
Yeah, our trip was supposed to be at the end of March, so it did not happen.
Oh yes. Yeah. I know
But
how that went because in middle of March, I got together with high school buddies I played football with for spring training down in Phoenix Mesa area, and the weekend after we were there, that's when they canceled baseball. Period. I thought,
yeah.
whoa, that was. I mean, we were going to go the following weekend, which would have been bad. You know, fly in Thursday, and then our game Friday. Oh, there's no games. So
Right.
you rented a place for the whole time and flew down. I mean, just actually would have been okay. I'm not a big baseball fan anyway, so I go more to kind of catch up with my buddies.
Yeah. Well, we would love to hear if you can tell us a little bit about just the moment, kind of the aha moment when you realized you knew you wanted to follow Jesus. You obviously, it's been a huge part of a lot of your life as a pastor, but you know, when did you make that decision?
And that's I can't really point to one. I know that because you know, you hear people, I went to church all my life. Well, I did, and I was serious about it, and I think it was around 7th or 8th grade I decided I'm going to be a pastor, which is usually people don't decide what they're going to do
Right.
in 7th or 8th grade. A lot of people now they're 50 and they haven't figured out what they're going to do, you know.
Yeah.
But I said, you know, this is what I'm going to do, and I just went on the track, went to Luther College where my dad happened to go, Luther Seminary up in Minneapolis, St. Paul, and then went right into the ministry. I was,
Yeah.
you know, a lot of people now they say, gee, I'm going to go. I don't know I'm going to major with. I don't, you know, well, I knew from the get-go. And then, so my life in Christ has just been a constant, I say, development.
Yeah.
And maturation. And so I didn't really have that, you know, Bible camp experience that so many of the kids that I've taken to camp in Colorado and at Okoboji and stuff have gotten. It just seems to have been always there for me.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's cool that you felt such a strong call on your life at such a young age and never wavered from it. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you're not prepared for this question, but was there somebody, a person that was really influential in your faith when you were younger?
You know, this is the not funny thing. I think I remember I told my folks, you know, that I want to be a pastor, and I was influenced by my pastor, which my mom said later to me, she thought was really funny because he was, she said, a cold fish. I mean, he wasn't a real people person. I give you an idea. My mom was a volunteer at the church. They didn't have a secretary, so everyone, 5 women each picked a day, and they were there for the whole day. And still, after church, when we'd go out, he still wouldn't really know her name, which I thought, oh well, that's what you told me. And I think he was not so much of like he really wanted to be a parish pastor, but he wanted to be a leader in the Lutheran Church, you know, in the Illinois Synod or all this stuff. So I don't know. It just I felt I wanted to do something with my life that would have meaning, and I thought I want to do something in my life to serve God, and I thought, being a pastor certainly fills the bill. Of course, I've matured quite a bit, and realize, I mean, I know, just like, Martin Luther says, you can serve God in any walk, occupation that you
Yep.
have. And so, and also immaturely, it's okay, this is going out to everyone. Another reason I thought was, well, I would get for sure a guaranteed ticket into heaven, because God certainly wouldn't send any of his pastors to hell. Now, I don't believe that anymore, by the way. I don't.
That's good.
But that was one of my 7th grade figuring out. So,
Right.
Oh yeah, that would be it. So anyway, but that wasn't the main reason I went in,
Right.
and it certainly isn't the reason that I stuck in. That's for
right.
Sure. So.
Oh, that's great. Well, I was sitting here when you mentioned Okoboji. Here's a little fun fact for
Yep.
With George. After talking with George, when I met him here at FCC, we kind of realized that we were probably at the same Bible camp at the same time in summer. Yeah. So I actually worked as a counselor at a Okoboji Bible camp, where George brought his youth groups. So we figure we were probably there at the same time. We just didn't get to know each other.
Right.
Kind of funny. It's crazy when God does things like that and just cross people's paths at different times.
Yep.
How about a favorite Bible verse or story?
I actually do have one, and I've had the same one for so long. It's the end of Matthew 25. It's a parable of the separating the sheep from the goats. And he says, whenever I was hungry, you gave me something to eat. When I was thirsty, gave me something to drink. When you're a stranger, invited me in, etc. They say, well, when did that happen? And he said, as you've done it to the least of these, my brothers, you've done it also to me. And really saying, the way we treat others, I mean, I always think, what if that person's Jesus? How would I treat him? And that, I think, is ever so important. I mean, with all the turmoil that our country's going through today, what if everyone just lived that?
Yep.
Who cares about defunding anyone? You wouldn't need anyone to police you, because you would police yourself, anyway, so Matthew 25, that last part, that's always been a favorite of mine.
Yeah. And I feel like, if there's one thing that Jesus wants us to learn, I feel like that's one of the biggest things, because that message is kind of in so much of, what he taught us while he walked on earth, and just how to treat people and
do unto others as you would have them do unto you.
Yep.
I mean,
yep.
Love great. Your neighbor as yourself.
Yep. Why do you serve in FCC Kids?
Well, I can't not serve, you might say. I mean, I've been a pastor for 42 years, and before I retired 4 years ago, and the first 29, I was youth pastor, and even after that, I've always worked with kids, loved working with kids, and going then to a new church, First Christian. Matter of fact, I had signed up online for Vacation Bible School before I had retired, and before I'd even attended church. And I
didn't give yourself a break at all.
No, and I signed up for upper elementary, and I thought, okay, whoever this Heather Yoakum is, I can hardly wait till she reads it and say, oh, someone signed up for upper elementary, but who's George Meagard? Because I'd never been there at all or anything like that. So no, I just, and I love working with young people. It's killing me. Zoom is one thing, for like middle school, high school stuff, but it's not the same. And matter of fact, as a pastor, I'd always tell people, find your gift, and, you really have to be involved in your church and stuff like that. And I thought, there's no way I can come on Sunday morning and plant my behind on the chair and do an hour and go home and say, yep, this is my church,
Great.
So I'm just excited to work with young people, and I always have been, and I always will, I think.
Yeah, I think you will too. It's just who you are.
Yep. Yeah.
Well, if you can answer this differently, sometimes this question is the answer sounds the same and sometimes not, but what do you really love about serving?
Well, I think it's the same.
Yeah.
Kids are so fun. They are so interesting. And plus, when I was a youth pastor, oftentimes youth pastors are viewed as, well, you do that until you become a real pastor. And I always thought, man, I have a way better job than the senior pastor or the executive pastor or the lead pastor, because, man, my congregation, they can change. Adults sometimes they're kind of stuck, but you're forming people. You're being part of their lives, and to do that, it just such an incredible feeling to be an influencer, for Jesus Christ, and plus it's also interesting that, of course, my congregation would turn over all the time because they graduate from high school and then go on. Of course, now that I think about it, I have a Facebook friend, Instagram friend, who is a young adult now, who actually she works at Okoboji. I think she worked there as a counselor. And I realized that I baptized her. And when I was baptizing her, I realized that her grandma was one of the sponsors, and her grandma was in the high school youth group when I was first there. So it's like, okay, I had her grandma, and then her mom, I had her growing up through youth group, and now this gal's an adult. And so you kind of span the years, and it is so great. Well, I know, I better shut up. I just keep talking.
You're fine.
I mean, one of the things about youth pastors, they always say is you need to really cultivate the parents and get the parents behind you and everything. And after a while, the parents all were in my youth group, when they were kids. Now I had their kids. It was not like I had to tell them. They knew exactly what the whole drill was, knew who I was. And I mean, it just, the continuity was so awesome. And also working with fifth graders, then they go into middle school. And so I'm there on Wednesday evenings. And so I kind of span it.
Yeah. Get to spend quite a few different years with those kids is good for them too, to have that face that they know and trust. So that's great. Yeah. Well, I think you can see just from talking with George that why our kids love having him serve. They love being in his group. One of my favorite things that I appreciate about George is he's always taking whatever the lesson is and just making it in any way he can real for the kids and helping them understand. He brings in props or extra videos, and so he just really puts his whole heart into what he's doing, and we love that. So thank you, George, for what you do with the kids, and we love having you on our team.
Yep.
So hopefully we get to see you soon.
Yep. Okay. Yep. Well,
all right.
Scavenger hunt. Of course, by the time this gets put on, I think it might have happened already.
Yes, hopefully we had fun at the scavenger hunt yesterday.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, the scavenger hunt was so wonderful.
It was really fun.
You guys really missed it. So.
All right.
Okay.
Well, we'll talk to you later, George.
Okay. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye, everybody.